Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. We're here with another guide video for the Phantom Flow event. In this video, I'll be covering the They Call It Ironskin challenge. I'll be going over all the enemies, all the affixes, all the completion criteria, showing you my team composition as well as making some good suggestions for characters to use in this challenge. I'll be showing you guys how to complete it on the extreme difficulty as well as the challenger difficulty. So without further ado, let's get into They Call It Ironskin. So before we jump into talking about team composition, we got to address what enemies are we going to be fighting. So for the extreme challenge, you'll only be fighting ruined guards, but for the challenger difficulty, you'll be fighting both the ruined guards and graders. That is all. So taking that into consideration, that's how you have to build your team. So characters like Kazuha and Venti lose a bit of value because you don't use their Anemo suck-up ability as an actual CC capability. You'll really only be using them for damage. So I won't suggest those two, but they are still usable. Now, characters that I would suggest are characters that use a bow, and that is only for the extreme difficulty, purely because one of the affixes that I'll get into the affix part, but bow characters have a bit of an advantage in this one. But you're not really looking for any specific type of character because these are ruined guards and graders, and they pretty much take any damage from any source. They're not immune to any damage type. Using your highest damage dealer is the best way to go, so you can get them down as quickly as possible. So if any 5 stars are built for you, use those. If any 4 stars are super strong, use those. Just use anything to get us a lot of damage out. There's no real extremely beneficial character to these, except bringing one bow character for like the extreme difficulty due to one of the affixes. For my extreme run, that I'm going to do the extreme difficulty run, I'm going to be running a Yanfei, Zhongli, Bennett, and Barbara team composition. Yanfei as main DPS is going to have 4 set Crimson Witch. She's going to be my main DPS, dealing all the damage. Zhongli's there for the defense of his shield. He's going to be running 4 set Tenacity of the Millilith. Bennett is there for a bit of healing and also damage boosting. He's running 4 set Noblesse Oblige to give that 20% damage boost. And Barbara's there as the main healer if I need some emergency healing. She's not really running a set, she's just running any HP artifacts to boost her base healing. Now going into those affixes I mentioned earlier, which is the challenge ability or that little helping hand that you get. When a character hits a Ruined Guard's exposed weak spot, the Ruined Guard will immediately be paralyzed. Now the reason I suggested a bow character is because of this little thing here, and only for the extreme difficulty. If you don't like to dodge attacks or you prefer to just be able to attack the enemy whilst they're stationary, bring a bow character and just shoot the weak spot once and they'll be instantly knocked down. You don't have to do the follow-up shot, and that's only really if you want to do that. I personally didn't do it and wouldn't suggest it because it feels a bit more of a waste of a time. But if your main DPS that you actually do run with, so either you have Yoimiya or Ganyu, or any of these bow characters that, do a lot of damage, if any of them are your main DPS, then this is obviously going to be super beneficial for you. Moving on, when carrying an Electrogranum, characters will trigger the Rigid Body Collision effect when attacking opponents with less than 30% HP, dealing additional damage. Rigid Body Collision can be triggered once every 8 seconds. Each time you trigger Rigid Body Collision, the max HP threshold which Rigid Body Collision can be activated at is increased by 10% up to 50%. So pretty much in summary, this is an execution type mechanic, so the lower their HP, the better it is. So you get them to 30%, and then you do a massive hit of damage, and then that threshold rises up to 40%, and then you get the next Ruined Guard to 40%, they take a massive hit of damage, and then that threshold rises to 50%, and then from there on, every Ruined Guard that you hit that's at 50% or lower will take a massive chunk of physical damage. This is a pretty helpful thing and does come in quite handy in helping you kill the Ruined Guards and finishing them off, seeing as that one hit, the Rigid Body Collision, does about let's say about 20 to 30% of their HP, so it's pretty handy. And now moving on from the affix here, we're going to move on to the completion criteria, which is so far the simplest out of all completion criteria here. All you have is a time limit and you have to kill a certain amount of enemies without dying. So it's a total of 5 Ruined Guards for the extreme difficulty that you have to kill in 180 seconds and 0 character deaths. Not too difficult. So now I'm going to start the challenge, and I'm just going to talk to you guys about what's going through my head and what I'm thinking as I'm starting this challenge. So I'm approaching this challenge with obviously the idea that my main DPS is a Yanfei, I've got a Zhongli and a Bennett. And so I need to know I need to keep my shield up 100% of the time, and I need to be constantly attacking with Yanfei, outputting as much damage, because I do know that I only have 180 seconds to defeat 5 high-level Ruined Guards. Now, I'm not too fussed about picking up the Electrogranum at the start of the fight because the execution phase is still at 30% HP, so they have to be quite low for it to be active. The biggest tip I can give is constantly be attacking, don't have any amount of downtime, because you do only have 3 minutes to do this, and that's 5 enemies and they are about 85 to 95 level. So time is of the essence and always be attacking. Now obviously with different characters as your main DPS, different mentalities come into play. As I'm using Yanfei, my thought process is, when 2 Ruin Guards spawn, I want them to group up as fast as possible, so all the AoE damage that I'm doing will splash onto the other one that isn't the primary target. And as I'm doing all this, I'm trying to maintain my Zhongli shield, as well as anytime I see my Bennett have his elemental burst up, I try to use it for any damage boost. And now as the first Ruin Guard gets to about 30%, I pick up Electrogranums and start to keep them consistently, seeing as the HP threshold for that rigid body collision to happen is rising, and once it gets to 50%, that's when you'll want to have the Electrogranum on you at all times. If you're not running a Zhongli like I am, or a shield character like Noelle as well, then this is obviously going to be a bit more difficult, so you'll have to maybe run 1 or 2 healers just to keep yourself alive in this, and you'll have to dodge a lot more. Other than that, this challenge is actually pretty easy and didn't take me too long, and I didn't struggle at all. The rigid body collision does help a lot once you start getting to that 50% threshold and you're dealing a very large amount of damage to the enemies very early on. Again, the biggest tip I will give is constantly be attacking, don't have any downtime, and with that, best of luck on this one, guys. With extreme difficulty done, we're going to move now on to the Okuden difficulty, or the challenger difficulty, and we're going to talk about what I do here. First thing I do is I do a team change. I change my Yanfei and my Bennett out for my 2 5-star DPSs, Zhao and Ayaka. Zhao is going to be the main DPS, seeing as he's pretty much my strongest character that I have. I'm switching to him because he's my strongest and he's also a bit more versatile. He's running a 2-set Viridescent, I believe, with a 2-set Gladiator. Again, Zhongli and Barbara are still there doing their same thing, and Ayaka's here just because she's another 5-star DPS that does a lot of damage just because she can. And the reason I'm doing a team switch here is because you do need a lot of that high instant damage. You can't have any downtime because of the level increase on the enemies and the HP increase. You really do need a lot of damage. You can't have any amount of downtime. So keep that in mind when going into this. You need a very high amount of damage. Going into what changes about this difficulty, the Okuden difficulty, bow characters lose a bit of value in the sense comparatively to the extreme difficulty, where the arrow to the weak spot doesn't knock them down instantly anymore. You now need to go back to obviously landing 2 shots, pretty much like it is default in the game. So that's where bow characters lose a bit of value, and that's pretty much all that changes. The completion criteria is still 5 enemies in 3 minutes, and no characters are allowed to die. And the other thing that changes about the Okuden difficulty is that this is where the Ruin Greater will appear. You will only get 1 Ruin Greater, and that's going to be in the final set of enemies. So you're going to encounter 1 Ruin Guard, and then after you kill that one, 2 Ruin Guards, and then the final 2 enemies are a Ruin Guard and a Ruin Greater. So keep that in mind. And again, pretty much everything that I said about the extreme difficulty is here, except for obviously what you do with your characters. I'm keeping the Electrogranum at the back of the mind until the first one's dead, pretty much. After that, that's when I'm actively picking it up and using it. And because I'm running Zhao, again, it's a lot of that splash damage with his plunging attack combo, trying to keep the enemies grouped up as best as I can to deal as much damage as I possibly can as well. Now in this one, I do get quite close to the time, because obviously it is still Okuden difficult, it's still quite a hard difficulty, so it is going to take a bit of time to kill these enemies. But if you do have an extreme amount of damage, you will be able to do this one quite easily. That's all you pretty much need for this challenge, is a very high amount of damage. Now I'm just going to let this play through and you guys can see what I do in the Okuden difficulty and how I do everything. Hopefully I explained everything well enough. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you at the end.
Solidify. This is order.
My apologies. Sakura swirl. Let the show begin.
And there you have it, both difficulties done, both extreme and then also Okuden done and dusted. Hopefully I did explain everything well enough and I gave you guys an idea of how to approach both challenges. Obviously the extreme difficulty is going to be fairly easier than the Okuden difficulty, but that, you know, that's pretty self-explanatory. Hopefully I did explain everything well enough. If you did enjoy the video, hit that like button, guys. And if you enjoy this guide type content, which I am slowly getting better and better at, then definitely hit that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.